Welcome to Verbal Peak Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. Like to welcome you all to the show. Now, all of you are aware of what's going on throughout America, throughout the 50 states in the country that's been dealing with police brutality and racism. And we want to touch bases on that, but we want to actually go into our own particular city, Houston, Texas, and give you all incidents that occurred and how we plan on fighting this unjust behavior due to a people basically based upon melanin. Now, as you all know of Sandra Bland and incident that occurred in throughout Texas and Houston and surrounding areas, right? I'm gonna start going back to 1977 with Jose Campos Torres, right? He was a 23-year-old Mexican-American and a Vietnam veteran who was ruthlessly beaten by several Houston Police Department officers that subsequently led to his death. He was assaulted by a group of on-duty police officers after being arrested for disorderly conduct at a bar in Houston's Mexican-American East End neighborhood. The officers convicted for that death of Torres at the state level received the minimum sentencing, 1 year probation, and a $1 fine. Torres' murder and sentencing sparked community outrage and led to multiple community protests, with one gathering escalated to a riot. His death led to advocacy-based nonprofit and HPD officials negotiations leading to the addition of police addressing police community racial relations. Now that's Jose Campos Torres, right? Which was unjust. Then we want to go back to 1989. This was October 31st with Ida Delaney. Ida Delaney, a 50-year-old mother and grandmother, was gunned down by off-duty police officers wearing street clothes who had just left the local bar where they had been drinking. And these officers, they've been drinking, they left the local bar. By all accounts, Delaney pulled in front of the officer's personal car. Now, the officer's upset about that, right? They pursued her for 13 miles. Logically, Delaney was in fear of her life. She was being chased by a car with 3 unknown men in the early hours of the morning. Due to her fear, she decided to fire a few shots from her gun, hoping it would scare off the officers. Didn't. She was murdered. She was murdered. Officers only spent a couple of days in jail, was let off and was no bill, and that was the end of it. Then you had Byron Gillum. Byron Gillum, a young African-American male security guard who was gunned down by HPD officers who pulled him over near the University of Houston main campus on November 15, 1989. Gillum protested that the stop was harassment. The officer was irritated over the accusation and seeing Gillum's .357 Magnum revolver on the seat of his car, because he was a security officer, ordered him out of the car. Bystanders say that the officer then shot Gillum in the chest, causing him to get out of the car and attempt to flee for his life. The officers then shot Gillum a total of 4 times while he was attempting to crawl away. The officer's name is T-S-C-H-I-R-H-A-R-T, Tishart, had previously shot and killed 2 other black male suspects within 7 years. The community was outraged when the grand jury no-billed the officer. Nevertheless, Miss Ada Edwards, a member of the Shea Community Center, is still fighting to bring justice to this case. Then we also have Jennifer Jeffley, the age of 15, mid-19, about 95, 96. She's 15 years old. Officer wrote up a statement, a testimony, told her if she could sign it, that she would be able to go home. She signed it, and she's still in prison today for a murder that she didn't commit, and we want to deal with that and hope people get involved. Her case was on Crime Watch, and we want people to get involved with that because we want justice for all of our people, because racism has played its hand. It can't go any further because the intelligence of the people are not taking racism anymore. Plus, racism can't justify its existence because you can't treat a people a certain way because you don't like how they act or their skin color or who they are. It's absurd. So now we leading to the guest that we have on the show today, and that's Brother Marcus Muhd. Brother Marcus Muhd, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Glad to have you on Reverbnation Radio, and glad to know you personally, because I know the work and I know your passion that you have for the people, especially here in the city of Houston, Texas. Now, I want to set this up because back in slavery time, we were not allowed to read or write because they understood that knowledge was power. And they wanted to create a gap of distance so far that black people, especially black men, would never catch up to the colonizer who set forth that system, right? But as you all know, cream rises to the top. So when you have brothers that's willing to go into any black neighborhood with a newspaper full of knowledge, titled The Final Call newspaper, that's courage within itself because that's showing love because knowledge is power. So whenever you see brothers out there with the Final Call newspaper, show the utmost respect because they're bringing you life-giving knowledge to save your life because you can act out on knowledge, and knowledge is very important. So we want to go back to the year of what, Brother Marcus Muhd?
1994.
You on the corner of Antoine and Tidwell.
Yes, sir.
With the Final Call newspaper.
Yes, sir.
Providing dope people with knowledge because knowledge also closed the gap. Officer approach you, right? Now, reason why we're doing this is because I want to show you the length that the system, or when they say systematic racism, to go to dumb down the people. This is not done by accident. So can you explain the ordeal and the situation that took place?
To the best of my recollection, I will. And first I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to even talk about it because, to be honest with you, I haven't spoken about this incident since it happened in very many details. And I appreciate the opportunity to say something about it. Well, I was on the corner that day, afternoon, and I had just gotten there. We had our papers. I got to the corner by myself, but other brothers had convened also on that same corner, which we did often because we worked together in a lot of ways. Even if we came separately, we different brothers on different sides of the corner, getting the knowledge to our people. So I wasn't there long. I had my bundle, which is another word for a 100 stack of papers, and I had planned to do what I came to do as usual. In a few hours and zero on out. That's right. And take it on from there. So, I bust over my bundle and started getting busy. And this is a very busy intersection to this day, Antoine and Tidwell.
Now, what can you remember the particular incident? The particular the paper, the print.
The cover. The cover. The cover was Peace in the Streets.
Peace in the Streets.
Yeah, the headline was after there was a peace conference between the hip hop artists nationwide with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Sir.
And so you had Snoop Dogg and you had Willie D on the cover standing at the podium speaking to the people with the minister, and it was a pretty inspiring cover to me because, I came up out of the rap game myself.
That's right.
So, Peace in the Streets.
That's right. You attempted to bring peace in the streets. We want peace in the streets. It takes soldiers to get out there. So let's make peace in the streets.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I love the Final Call newspaper, and I know what the results are if you took the time to understand what's written in it. So anyway, I'm working the corner, and the light changed, and the traffic came forward, and a car almost runs over me. I mean, a car almost get hit by a car. And so I go around to the car door. I was young. I was kind of, yeah. I had a little energy.
Right.
So I went around to the car door, and I was like, "What the hell is your problem?" And suddenly the car door just flew like it was flying open on me, And the first thing I thought was what I was taught in class was to not let the door come open, to prevent the confrontation if there is one.
Right.
So I dropped my papers. The papers went flying everywhere, and I was attempting to hold the door closed while this person was trying to come out. And so we struggled for a few seconds with just that, and I let the door open. After a while, I was like, well, the only way this is gonna end is that I have to let the door open. He's coming out. So when he came out, I met him with bing bang.
Right.
Because I've learned that from childhood.
Right.
If someone's coming to you with harm, you don't wait to be harmed.
Right.
You defend yourself.
Right. Like self-preservation, like any man should.
Well, self-defense.
Self-defense. Any man should.
Yes. So he came out with an assault towards me, and it happened. The fight occurred. And so as he was falling, he grabbed me to hold himself up. He got his balance. He threw me up against the car. I spinned him around, threw him up against the car, and threw him in the street. And that was the point where I realized that I was fighting a cop.
How'd you know?
Because when he hit the ground in the street, on the concrete, you just know that you heard a weapon hit the ground, hit the ground and scratch the concrete.
But he didn't identify himself.
No. Not. And he even testified to that in court. That no, I didn't. It came out that he didn't identify himself.
Okay.
But anyway, his partner was a female detective. These were detectives, plainclothes detectives. They had been circling the vicinity, detecting whatever they were doing, looking at whatever. And he just felt like, I don't want this guy standing on the corner. So, to put it lightly, to give him some credit, I'm just going to scare him with my car. But he went to court and said his foot slipped off the brake. So, hey, brakes, they have rubber on the brake, and then you have a little grip on the bottom of your shoe, and you don't go that fast, even if your foot slipped off the brake, to the point where your car got to jerk up on top of somebody. But anyway, that's what happened, bro. I took it to court, and they brought in a lot of blue shirts and impressed the jury, and a couple of witnesses that I had met with on the corner that didn't agree with me to testify against me.
Wait. And now this was a Caucasian officer.
Sir?
Caucasian officer.
Mm-hmm.
Caucasian officer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the people from the neighborhood that they brought in to testify was
black.
Okay. Now, see, this reminds me of the Rayshard Brooks shooting that just occurred, right? You had the black sheriff from Brooke County in Georgia who said that the officers shooting was justified. See, it's two wars here. You know, see, white people always, even back in slavery time, had them Negroes they can go get, that they pull out somewhere. I don't know if they paid for Negroes or how they know, but they would go get them Negroes, and they would always stand in defense of the colonizer and go against their own people. So in this battle, as we tearing down statues, we gotta tear down the Negro too. When you find them, that's who are perpetrating racism. You're a catalyst. You are a person who allows it to continue to go on, because they always can use you as a scapegoat or get you out there to just go say anything. And and it's like they open the door and say, "Go get them, boy." And then you run out there and, "What you say about my good white master?" And it's over. It's over. And this particular case needs to be discussed, because things has to be made right again. Because one instance is this: the mind of the police. I can do anything I want to a young black male. You know why? You gonna be able to afford no attorney. Who gonna believe you anyway? I mean, look at all the movies they put out, Colors and Menace to Society, and boy, white people see you like that. And all I gotta do is just paint the picture right as far as the attorney. Paint the picture right for the judge and the world. Who cares? Because white people are superior, and we tired of seeing you anyway in America. So anything, matter of fact, the best thing that we can do for black people in America is lock them all up. That way we don't have to look at so many of them. So anything we got to do, whether we lie about it or whether we trump up charges in the sense, then that's what we'll do, right? And people are tired. They're tired because you ruin lives. And that stain, especially for a black person, will last till damn near the day we die. Even if you could be young and get deferred adjudication, it's still on your record. They don't remove nothing. They plague you for life. So now you fighting the criminal justice system on the street. Now you have to go inside the building into the court and fight them again inside the brick and mortar.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know it's a show, right? But I want to get to the part of, because before we get to that part, I just want to say this though. Young people out there, man, you got to read. You have to read. You have to further your knowledge. Read your final call. Get you a book so you can understand etymology of words, and you can understand how words are used against you, and you can even understand how your emotions can be used against you when you step in that courtroom. Educate yourself, because this is not nothing new. So when you go in a courtroom, right, you know, the judge sitting up there, and, you know, you got the attorneys and the lawyers, and they got their witnesses, you know, that's sitting in the witness section ready to be called and whatnot. And explain how, when you walk in there, how the deck is stacked against you from time you get in.
With just some common knowledge, we all know that we don't get very much justice in the American courthouse, or no courthouse that I know of anywhere in the world right about now, because it's a widespread white supremacy onslaught that we've been living under. So just knowing that, walking in there, you know that the deck is stacked against you, along with people telling you, man, look, you're wasting your time. And people telling you that you got very little chance. And people telling you that, you know, you shouldn't have did that. As if they wouldn't have done the same thing in that situation.
Right.
So when you're walking in there, You just want to know where to sit down at. But I was 100% confident that I was going to win this case because in my mind, and I'm green, I'm 100% justified in doing what I did.
Right, and you was 100% justified in doing what you did, because I'd have done the same thing.
Right.
You
natural person would.
right. You gonna fly off, you try to hit me. I mean, if one, that means you got the intent to do bodily harm or take me out. Now you in a vehicle when you could have just drove off. Then you say your foot slipped off, come on. Then you come out the car. So now I have to stand my ground, right? You know, it's fight or flight. I can't fight because you run me down and kill me in the back. I got to turn around and face you and save my own life, and you get punished for saving your own damn life.
Well, now let's talk about this. So imagine somebody almost getting hit by a car, and the car is sitting there, and they just go on about their life and go on about their business. Before you tell somebody you shouldn't have done that, put yourself in that person's shoes and ask yourself, if somebody would almost just hit you with their car, when you're not doing anything, you feel like in your mind you are doing the positive thing because you are. Because you could be doing a whole lot of other things besides selling a newspaper to help black people get their lives together. You could be doing a whole lot of other things, brother. So in your mind, you in the right. You're in the bosom of God because you got your faith going also in your mind. So imagine somebody assaulting you with their car and you just going on by life. You're not going to do that. You're going to wonder what the hell is this person's problem.
Right.
Explain yourself, sir.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what happened.
Right. Well, because this is what you call on the front lines. What a lot of people fail to realize is, see, those of you who didn't meet racists head on, you gave them power to continue to go on and do it to someone else. So when people stand up and meet it head on right there on the spot, it lets them know, hey, look, every black person is not a footstool. Some black people value their lives and themselves, and they love themselves, and they see value within themselves enough to question, what the hell are you doing? And a lot of colonizers, Caucasians, or white races, white men, they don't see that often. So in their mind, just walk over them, do them any kind of way. They so downtrodden that they can't even stand up for themselves. Look how we do them. You know, we just shoot them, judge, get over with. What they gonna do but run to the church and sing, we shall overcome, and that be the end of it. And those of you who didn't fight back, you continue to allow it to keep progressing. Somebody has to come and put it to a halt and say, hey, no, wait, no, not today. Stop, you know. Or, okay, well then I'm not gonna be the aggressor, but I'll fight with you if you're trying to fight with me. And then that sets justice and that sets peace. Because it's like the bullet, you know, once you pop the bullet in the nose, he understands pain too. And this whole game plan goes out the window. Not advocating violence, I'm saying when you met with violence and you met with someone trying to do you bodily harm, you have to show them that your life is valuable too.
And then you're doing the bully a favor because now the bully knows how to respect another human being properly. Yeah. Now, with that being said, also, I want people to understand that nowadays, your reaction or your lack of reaction or your misreaction, poor reaction, is being used as a detonator to set off an explosion that will end in their favor. Because we're talking about police with the authority.
Right.
Right or wrong. So, like the brother said, get into your books, read knowledge, get understanding. Because sometimes you're going to have to use wisdom. Well, not sometimes. we should walk in wisdom. And that way you will know how to pick your battles.
Right.
Sometimes you have to respond instead of react.
Right.
Okay, so, and then going back to what you said about how can I turn my back on this assailant? Okay, look at what we're dealing with now with Rayshard Brooks. When the brother was attempting to get away, I did the same thing that day. After realizing that this person is a cop, just on street blast. He hits the ground, his head is like a brick, first of all. Every time I hit him, it's like hitting a sack of potatoes. And then he's so aggressive, no other civilian is going to behave this way. He managed to grab me and throw me against the car. Then, after even getting the best of him, throwing him in the street, I hear a sound of metal when he hit the ground off his waist. This is a cop. So, what snapped to me was to get the hell away. Right? And that's what I did. I ran. I took off of the Esplanade, across the street, slipped in the street, because I had on dress shoes. You out here attacking a man in a suit and a bow tie. Okay? Not a man out here with a stick waving it at people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This dude is attacking a man in a suit and bow tie.
Right.
With newspapers.
Right.
Okay, so I slipped in the street trying to get to the other side of the Esplanade, and I just hear, get the fuck down. You know, stop motherfucker. You know, so I stopped. Rayshard didn't get the benefit of stop,
Right.
police, stop or I shoot.
Right.
Hold it right there, freeze.
Right.
All he got was bang, bang, bang.
Shot him in the back.
Shot him in the back.
Right.
So, yeah. How do you look at that? You know, these people are shooting us in the back. They're putting us in handcuffs and bounding our feet, choking us out, defenseless. Women laying in a bed, sleep, getting shot up. Little boys, 12 years old, playing in the park. Don't even ask questions, just drive up in your car and unload on them.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, some days I woke up feeling like I was an American. You know, some days you wake up, look, I'm finna go sell this newspaper, bring knowledge to my people. I'm an American, I can go do that. You don't know, you in the wildest in your mind, you think somebody would get mad to try to challenge you because they know that they can hide behind their hate. I don't like you out here. I'm finna run you down or show my frustration. Black people know this goes on all the time. You can walk into a restaurant at that time if it's predominantly white patrons in that restaurant. You hear the sayings that they say, or you know, and in your mind you be like, okay, now you don't say nothing, but you let one of them come over here with that shit. I'm finna, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know. Sometimes if it's from somebody that works there, I would get up and leave because I don't know what the hell they doing to my food. Sometimes I walk in and I look at them and I'm like, nah, that's okay. Let me go I would go across town and find me a black restaurant. I'd travel to the next or whatever, you know what I mean? Because you're sick and tired of it. You want to be comfortable. So that happens a lot. Let's say Breonna Taylor, she felt like she was an American and her boyfriend, because they had the nerve to go to sleep in their own apartment. You know, I mean, damn, we need cameras and we need people watching. We take turns on guard, and even so, a no-knock warrant. They kick in the door. Dude thinking it's an evasion. Once again, they don't have to identify themselves. which they should identify himself. If he would identify himself, okay, let's talk, officer. Right?
That's where it should work.
That's where it should work. But yet it's entrapment, man. It's been plenty of times, I got into it with a white boy in the store. You know what I mean? Talked all that shit. Soon as I binged him, he tell the clerk to call the police. Call the police? Like, dude, you know what I mean? Do it. But you gotta realize we didn't know how sick we didn't know how sick the racists are. We didn't know the mindset. We're judging them out of our mindset and not looking at the reality of who they are and what's going on. And we didn't know the level of degree of hate that they had for us. So when you walk in the courtroom, the deck is stacked up against you. So you go in with your counsel and your attorney, because in your mind, hey man, this is justifiable, but there's no way in the world any humanity-loving being would even, if you don't prosecute this officer for initiating the situation, at least we all go home, nothing on my record, and him okay, and the police department promises to do better and treat black folks with respect and dignity. Okay, even though that would have been less than what should have happened, but we'll take that. But that didn't happen for you.
No, sir.
This wound up becoming on your record.
Oh, yeah.
Most
definitely on my record, bro.
and
most definitely that.
And we gotta fight. Look, those of you who are out there listening to the show, I need correspondence. I need to where we can rectify this situation and get this removed from the brother's record. Whether you send in donations or you sending in correspondence on what you can do to help any legal aid, whatever, because it's ridiculous and it has to be revisited. It's too many cases out there where injustice has occurred and the people suffering from it. I just talked about Jennifer Jeffley in her case, and she is being punished for something she didn't do since the age of 15, and no one's looking into it and trying to right the wrong. We're doing what we can on this show to right the wrongs, because you hear the good speeches, we all are Americans and we gotta love each other and peace and so on and so, but come on. We can do better, and we have to do better. Now, when your counsel was arguing your case, how was the judge taking in the words of the counsel? Like, was the judge agreeing? How was the judge combating your counsel when he presenting the case and evidence for your side?
The judge was indifferent about the whole situation because it wasn't going to be his decision anyway. It was like another day at the office for him. I don't even remember him or her saying anything throughout the case.
You didn't ask no questions in that?
Not that I remember. There's a transcript, so
right.
I would have to go and look at the transcript to remember
right.
that.
Right.
But I don't, like I said, the decision was up to the jury.
The jury. Mm. Now, white jury?
No, not entirely. There was at least one black person. I don't remember the jury either.
And the jury, wait. The jury had the fact that he didn't identify himself as the officer.
Oh yeah, like you said, the deck was stacked against me, and it is. Anytime a black person is in legal trouble, the deck is just stacked against you. I don't care if you're in the right or the wrong.
Right. You cannot assault an officer if the officer don't let you know he's an officer.
I wasn't charged with assault against an officer. They couldn't do that.
Right.
Because he had no official clothes on.
Right.
He was a plainclothes detective.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But he brought in a gang of blue shirts. You see what I'm saying? And the only thing they can give me is assault and battery. Bodily harm. Assault and bodily harm. First degree, Class A misdemeanor. Class A misdemeanor. Which means whenever you fill out an application for an apartment or a job or whatever, credit, and they have to search your background, they see felony. And I had to learn that the hard way. Like, it took me years banging my head up against the wall, wondering why I can't get this job or why I can't get this apartment. And, you know, and the knowledge came to me later on down the line, years later, when I still couldn't get my life together, that whenever they see this, they consider it a felony, Class A misdemeanor, especially if they see that it had something to do with violence. Assault. You assaulted someone and you caused them bodily injury. And it's a Class A misdemeanor. So you might as well have a felony there.
Wow.
Right. So we have a situation where people have their attitudes towards us, which they always have, but they hide it behind an official job of authority that carries with it the legal right in some instances to kill you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Or at the very least, give you a charge and destroy your life with the charge.
Yeah. It's like two white officers getting their police car, look at each other, you ready to roll? Yeah, let's go get them. And they ride out on the hunt. Like I said, the hunt is on and we the prey. Anybody can be picked out of the crowd on any given day. And that's what we fighting for today, to stop that. They can get out there and just, I mean, there's been cases of the guy in Detroit where they showed officers planting drugs on him, you know? Just bought him a Cadillac, worked for the dealership, planting drugs on him, you know? I mean, it's like, look, if you're not black or brown in America, you have no idea what black men go through. And it don't matter social status, how much money you got, how much money you don't have. It's just the fact that you black and you got some race soldiers out there who feel like they doing something to help out the other racist community. And so we're gonna hunt down and get this black person. We're gonna treat him bad. We're gonna mess up his life. We're gonna fight him. If we can get away with killing him, we're gonna kill him. And it reached a point to where all the tricks that they've used doesn't work anymore. The spotlight is on them and they so ignorant to where the fact that they can't even stop. Spotlight on you and you still, it's so, the hate and racism is so embedded within you, you can't control yourself. I don't know if you feel as though that you relieving yourself, some type of feel good that you get from hurting a black person or mistreating a black person. And some of the statements that I hear is like, it's ridiculous, from the Karens who, and white women know this. All I gotta do is call the police and cry and say I'm being attacked by a black person and they'll be here on the way. And when they come, they ready to kill you, buddy. And it's ridiculous. But it's sad, but it's true. It happens every day in America. Just think about the countless victims that didn't have any video to go along with their debt that just a file, a number that's just locked away in some case in some cabinet. You know, it's ridiculous. But before we go, I want to get the people a little bit familiar with word terminology. You know, it's difficult to where you would have the prosecutor, how when you walk in the courtroom, how the prosecutor asks your counsel in a certain way to set you up, to make it seem like it's your fault, you know, and how the counsel has to counter that with a certain visualization when presenting the case to show the prosecutor that my client is a victim and not the aggressor, because it's back and forth. You know, you have to be skilled and there's legalese, which a lot of us, and I credit the Panthers, credit the Moors for teaching legalese. That's another thing that we have to know, which I'm pretty sure now, looking back on it, that you abreast yourself with certain with legalese and how systems work.
Yes, sir. Well, when the prosecutor presents evidence against the accused in a courtroom, court of law, it is the defense's attorney. It is the defense attorney to uproot that piece of evidence. If you let it hang, then it germinates in the mind of the jury, and it becomes fact. If it's a simple thing, you just deal with it and move to the next point. You have to be diligent and watch these wordsmiths. You know what I'm saying? These word scientists. It is their language. It's not our language. It's their language, and it's built up just for the assault. It's a weapon. It's just another weapon. Right. Okay, so it's a turn backwards language. Our language, if you turned it the other way, it becomes our language. If you turn this language the other way, it becomes our language. Right. Because they wiped the Etruscans out and created a totally backwards society off of it, just so that we couldn't grasp the full essence of what we're saying and what we're trying to express, and the things that we set up. It would always be working against us if we operating it in the opposite of our own nature. So that's the root of legalese. Just go from there, and you'll see what it is to go into a courtroom and these people start talking about, when they start talking Greek, you understand, and Latin. Right. It's their language. So you got that, and you got the fact that these little guys are joining the academy with the intent to go out and hunt. So when they get their badge and their gun and their uniform, every day they suit up. They're going out into the streets. They're not going to their own neighborhood. They're going to a neighborhood that doesn't belong to them, or they didn't come up with. They have no affiliation with. They have no affinity for. And they're looking for trouble. They're not going to serve or protect anything. They're going to find the trouble. Because all their life, they've had parents and societies and institutions that reinforce that they are superior, and that which is inferior to them the opposite of them are trouble. So I'm going to go out here and hunt. And so as soon as Rashard was shot in the back, he fell to the ground. The first words that came out of this cop's mouth was, "I got him."
Got him, yeah.
So when they say, "Let's go get him," and they get one, they feel like they got him. It's a hunt.
Job well done in their mind.
Yeah.
And another thing is that they feel like they protecting white women from black men in a lot of cases, when actually the white women pursue the black men, and some race soldiers hate that dynamic, and because we got to deal with all of it, we putting we finna cleanse ourselves of all of it. So hopefully, after all, when the protest is done and the backlash comes from the protests, and we do the second round, like the COVID second round, when the dust settles, we through. Because as we state, two things can occupy the same space at the same time. When all of this is settled, we through, winning, or, which is a good solution, separation. But this is a process to see if we can get along. We're going through the process now to see, because you got two wide awake people who looking at the same thing, but perceiving it different. And both are wide awake. No one is superior. When they use the term white supremacy, that's just an ideology that's in one group's mind that they trick themselves into believing, but doesn't have the evidence and the proof and the facts to justify the statement. So that's sick within itself. But two intelligent minds looking at the same thing and can't come into agreement over time, then they got to separate. So hope we'll see at the end of all of this, the protesting and whatnot. I mean, throughout the world. I mean, even over in Africa, even had just had the Arab Americans that came out in solidarity, and they took the oath to do better towards blacks in America as well, uniting among with us. So let's see how this thing plays out. But everything has to come out on the table. All of 400 years of aggression towards black people, hate, systematic racism, all the tricks that was used and done, and everything has to come out on the table in order to deal with it effectively. So that's the purpose of this show, and that was the purpose having Brother Marcus Muhd, because this is time for a healing and time for people who've been through the system unjustly to tell their side of the story and what they actually been through, so a witness, so you can know that it is real. Before we get out of here though, I want y'all to support this young man, because he didn't quit. Brother still dropping music, still putting out shows, still putting out movies, still directing, as an example to the youth, because it's a lot of black people, a lot of young brothers out there that got felonies, that been in the system, that felt like that they can't achieve, and they give up, and some turn to drugs, some turn to alcohol, and they say, this is it. I'ma just, till I just fade myself out. Because it's just hard dealing with situations like that, and you got things hanging over your head, trust me. But that can do, and that spirit of fight needs to resonate within all of us. Use A-Tone Productions as an example and keep thriving, and make sure you all go out and support, because this was a soldier on the front line, you know, that stood there and took being ridiculed, took being aggressed upon by the plainclothes detective, stood his ground, fought back to deliver knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to a community. Because when you know the importance of knowledge and how you create from knowledge, you will see changes in people, and you will see changes in the environment. You see changes in the community once knowledge comes. So when somebody goes in the depth of areas that they call high crime areas, that'll love you enough to say, hey, read this, it'll change your life. Put some knowledge in your mind. You know, we gotta support our own soldiers. And with that being said, Brother Mark, before we get out of here, let them know your Facebooks and everything, how they can support your work, and any advice you can give the youth on how to deal with this system, even if it's just not getting yourself caught up in the system, but how to smarten up or educate themselves when a deck is stacked against you.
Well, look up A-Tone Productions. My website is atonepro.com, and I would say just Google A-Tone Productions, Marcus Muhd, M-U-H-D, Marcus M-U-H-D, and just check me out. And whatever you are interested in, pick it up. You know, if not, pass it on, or drop a note on me and let me know what you think about it. Maybe it's something that I need to improve on, or maybe you want to collaborate. You know, let's commune, let's work together, let's network, and that's the best thing that we can do. Right now, the only thing that we haven't tried still yet is unity. We need to understand the power of our own unity, and it's the only thing that's sustaining the bad society that we live in, okay? Is that those who are operating this ridiculous society are still unified. They back each other up. Look at these police and the way they come out against the victim whenever they victimize people. That isn't even their job, to go out and victimize people, but when it happens intentionally, they back each other up. All the way from the deputy up to the DA, they are backing each other up. So it tells you something about unity. Now, if we had that sort of unity when things are good or bad, such as these recent hangings that have been increasing lately, we should already have each other's back in matters like this, for preventive measures and for retaliation measures, because it's going to have to come a time where we have to find these culprits, individuals, these people, these groups, and we have to rid the earth of two of them for every one that they assault and kill us from our community. That's justice. If the Bible is the basis of the Constitution, and it is, the president puts his hand on the Bible, and other officials put their hands on the Bible to swear themselves in. You have references to the Bible in the Constitution. Then we have to look at the Constitution for justice if we're not afforded the justice by the Constitution. And if the Bible says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and a life for a life, we can't get that in our due processes, then we have to look to God to do that for ourselves, starting with a private investigation firm where we'll look up these people who are doing these crimes against us, since we can't get a representative from the government to do it. we'll find these people and we'll deal with it from there. There is a such thing as legal bounty hunters, where they are permitted to carry weapons and to bring people to justice. Maybe we have to invest in that, because we're not being represented properly, even though we're paying taxes. So in a sense, we're paying people to kill us rather than to serve us. We have to start looking at these things and understanding what unity looks like in the good and the bad, because we have to produce. We have to start creating with one another. We have to get with our brothers and sisters and unite with the best of what we have to offer one another, and work with one another through the good and the bad, because we're all we have. And I like to say also, if you guys would just check out Verbal Pig Radio, go back and listen to some of our episodes, listen to some of what the brother has to say about current events, you would do yourself some good. And always learn from reading and from life experience. The black man learns from experimentation. Once you read, put it to use, apply it, and see doesn't it work for you. And with that being said, I appreciate you for letting me on and speaking some of my piece.
Yes, sir, bro.
If you wanted any more details about what happened, you're always welcome to come and ask me about it. Anybody out there, if you want to contact us and talk more about this issue as it pertains to us personally, or as it pertains to current events, do that, and we're always available for you.
That's right. And look, before we go, just remember, injustice for one is injustice for all. Verbal Pig Radio, we out.
With the mind of white supremacy. That mind will render you incapable of handling what you're about to see. What you are seeing signs of heavily now. You got a few more minutes? Here is a verse of the Quran. This is a very magnificent book that is not on bookshelves in America, but it's powerful. Listen, in a chapter called Al-Asr, meaning the time, Muslims pray 5 times a day, but there is a prayer that we pray that is called Salatul Asr. And the Asr prayer comes when the sun has fallen away from its zenith and is like midpoint between the zenith and its setting. We measure time by the Earth's rotation on its axis and its revolution around the sun. So the Earth could not rotate on her axis without the light of the sun, nor could she revolve around the sun without the light of the sun. So it is our relationship to the sun that gives us our days and our years. So this chapter is called The Time. The Time. And if you don't have your watch, if you know the sun and the relationship of the earth, you can look at the sun and tell the time. You can look at the shadows even and tell the time by the shadow. Listen now. So Allah says in the Quran, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, by the time surely man is in loss, except those who believe and do good and enjoin one another to truth and enjoin on one another patience. Very pregnant. I'd like to deliver a few babies here. By the time, the word or the preposition by means that the time is the criterion by which actions are judged. Listen. By the time, surely man is in loss. Why is man losing? His actions are not corresponding with the dictates of the time. When you are out of time, have you ever tried to plant out of time? Nothing happens. Have you ever tried to harvest out of time? Nothing happens. When you go to the disco, if the music is beat, what is that? Time. And your dance gotta be what? Right in accord with the time. But if you don't know how to dance, you can't keep that time, and people don't want to dance with you because you're not keeping time. Have you ever been in a band and the drummer who is keeping the time can't keep that time? He speeds it up, then he slows it down. No musician can play with a drummer that doesn't keep time. Everything is done by time. The whole human body is based on rhythm. So when you sing the song, I got rhythm, I got rhythm, what you talking about? You think that means a Negro that got a lot of rhythm. But look, this heart has a rhythm that it has to keep. When it speeds up or slows down, this is a worry for a doctor, the vital sign. Rhythm, pulse, beat, blood pressure, rhythm, timing, everything is on time. But when you get out of sync, out of time, things don't go well for you. When the body is not working rhythmically right, the organs begin to work at odds, and it creates dis-ease or disease. Time. What time is it? Not by this watch. What time is it? By the universal clock. Each prophet that came into the world marked time. And if you can't read the prophets, you can't read the clock. And if you don't know the time, then you don't know what you should be doing. And if you don't know what to do and you don't know the time, then you're about to lose not only what you have, but you can lose your life because you're not on time. Now this, y'all all right? Please follow me now. The sun, when it reaches its zenith, you watch, the shadow is very short. When the sun rises in the east and strikes an object, the shadow is long in the west. But when that sun reaches the zenith, the shadow has drawn up from the west back to the object. And as the sun starts setting, the shadow starts going back toward the east. A lot of wisdom in that. When that sun is setting, it's like saying that a world's time is coming to an end. And if you notice, when the sun sets, it sets in the west. And if you watch one of these beautiful sunsets, the sky looks like it's on fire. And this is what God threatens the world with at the end. It is total fire.